Well, hello, and welcome back to the Tao Manifesting Tarot. This is the tarot reading for serious people. This is not your typical tarot reading. We don't get involved in all the kinds of rainbow and lollipops and all that sort of a mentality. Now, I've done tarot, by the way, for over 20 years, so I've heard a lot of people do tarot, and they do it very poorly because they're focused on one of two things: either telling you what you want to hear, which is pandering, or just pulling stuff out of their ass. So you get people to do 20, 30, 40, 50 cards more sometimes. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? You're not helping anybody at all. I want you to be inspired by this reading every single day. There is a codicil here, and that is you have to be a serious, independent thinker. Unfortunately, a large group of people these days are incapable of that kind of thinking. They would rather leave their heads up their ass because they're used to that, and that's fine. It doesn't resolve the issues, doesn't resolve the problem, doesn't make their life better, doesn't make life better, more tolerable for anybody, but it's what they're used to. We don't do that here. After 20 years of doing tarot, I've come to the understanding that tarot is the science of potential, your potential. In other words, a good reading, and this is a very tight reading, you're not going to see me, I'm an old man, I'm not attractive. Why take away the energy? It's just, I'm here. I'm giving you the very best I can, and I'm trying to give you a broad spectrum. We'll talk a little numerology, a little astrology, a lot of what's happening in the news, because this is pertinent to how you will use the energy of the reading if it resonates with you. Okay, this is not a light-hearted reading. This is for serious-minded, focused people. We are going through a shitstorm. It was a storm. If you follow some of the ancient predictions, it was a storm that was predicted hundreds, thousands of years ago. In fact, the Hopis have been telling the story about end times, or a change into a new major era, for a couple thousand years, where they talk about a man in a red hat, or red hat is I think how they refer to it, who would be instrumental in helping us transit into the next situation. So there have been predictions. You can call them apocalypse. You can say that they're from Revelation, whatever the case may be. But the story is, at some point we would hit a wall. Well, we're hitting the wall right now. And rather than talk about what's going on the street below me, who's doing this, who's doing that, what kind of day I had, who cares? We got this stuff that we're dealing with here in our life now. Not only does it impact us immediately in terms of the cost of everything going crazy, making life much more difficult unless you're very rich, which is how the very rich want it, by the way, because that way they have control. But that's a side note. Point of the matter is, people who are, I don't want to say in tune, not even in step. They're aware of what's going on. Jesus, I think, said it in the Bible the best. He said, "Be in the world, but not of it." It's that kind of a situation, and people who find themselves in that situation, I'm here. I'm in the 3D right now. 2025. Whew, I could pick a better place, but I'm here. How do I deal with it? So, again, the science of potential tarot. I do a very, very simple, tightly focused read. You don't need to see me. You don't need to see action. You have the cards here in front of you. You can close your eyes and meditate. You can get up and pour yourself a cup of coffee. You can listen. Let your mind work. Let your imagination work. That's what I want to do. I don't want to put a lot of visual stuff in front of you. All it does is distract you. You make the pictures in your brain. That's how you manifest. And so I want to encourage that. And I want to give you the best information, not simply using tarot, but where appropriate, in my eyes, some numerology, some astrology, even what's going on in the news. All of that to tie that frequency, that reading to you if you resonate. And that's the key. Most tarot people, astrology people, numerology people are not going to tell you this, but if you got 10 people in a room, you do a reading, one, maybe two of the people are going to resonate with it. The rest hopefully find it interesting, but it's not going to resonate with them. It's not going to move their spirit. Just one or two, that's all. But I do a brand new read every day, 365. Please like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Good, the people around me just took a breath because they want me to keep reminding you, like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithms. You know how that works. Anyway, so only 2 out of 10. But I do a brand new read every day, as I said, so we can catch you tomorrow, next week, next month. Well, at some point, you and the energy are going to align. When you do that, that's a green light. Go. Don't hesitate. Don't think about it. Just go. Things will take the shape that ever they're supposed to take. Remember, this tarot reading, as all tarot readings, ideally are the science of potential. Astrology, numerology, the science of cycles. You know, the cycles, you can kind of predict events, or at least certainly the energy. The last time this thing happened this way, we were doing this. So the odds are we're going to kind of do that again. Like, for example, the American Constitution, Uranus and Gemini. Guess what? Uranus is moving into Gemini at the end of this year. Coming up July 4th, 2026, we hit our 250th anniversary. And the idea of 1776 feels very much like today. People are on the edge. People are willing to turn. People want something to better. They almost demanding something better. And so I give the current administration, I have a lot of hope, not a lot of faith, because this is a huge mountain to climb. Huge mountain to climb. A lot of interference, but we'll see. Between now and July 4th, 2026, have you made the middle class better, healthier, stronger? Same thing for the poor. I don't give a damn about the rich. They could all leave. Yes, it would be hellaciously tough for the rest of the Americans left behind, but you know what? I have faith in America. We'll pull ourselves up, and we'll get us up and running better than before. I want to see what this current administration does for the middle class and the poor. When you have 92% of the wealth in a country owned by 0.5% of its population, that's slavery, and that's where we are. I know you don't want to admit it. That's unpleasant. I was thinking just the other night, I was in a nostalgic mood listening to some old tunes from my era, the 60s, 70s and stuff. And I was thinking back, geez, how different. I mean, that was the age of love. What in the hell has happened since then? Well, what's happened since then is the evil that was percolating in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s that we were not aware of because they lied to us. It's now surfaced. We got to deal with it. Spring cleaning, so to speak. So let's get to the reading for today. The middle card is the Oracle card. It is not a tarot card, but it sets the mood for the reading. It says, all that glitters. All that glitters. You see masks on a pile of gold dust. That's what we're sold. That's what we're sold. A financial lie. Henry Ford once said, if people really knew how banks work, they would get up in the morning and hang all bankers. At the time that I first read that, I went, what the hell does he mean? Well, I found out since then. Alan Greenspan, the head of the Fed, in the 1990s, I think it was, early 1990s, late 1980s, told the Senate that the Fed was above the law. Imagine the balls on that guy. The Fed was above the law? Well, that's the way the rich people think. We write the law. Screw you, you just follow what we tell you. The Fed is above the law. And then Chairman Powell, just a few months ago in a Senate hearing, said that he would not give up any information whatsoever about the Fed. Government really has no control over the Fed because the Fed was designed to keep politics out of it. Boy, that sounds good, but that's not true. The Fed, historically, was tried to start three times. Right after the Revolutionary War. Again, I think in the 1820s or 30s, Andrew Jackson beat him up, literally beat up a guy who tried to assassinate him because he was fighting against a common bank, the Fed, a national bank. So the national bank idea failed after the Revolutionary War, failed in the 1830s, and they brought it up again. 1913, it became law, but not without a few rich people dying. That's the Titanic. You should check out the story of the Titanic. 4 or 5 very wealthy people had been preventing this national bank idea. They stood in the way, so they put them on the Titanic, and of course we know what happened to the Titanic, or its sister ship, we're not exactly sure. But the point of the matter is, once they got rid of the opposition, 1913, they meet on Jekyll Island, which is an appropriate name for mischief, and they put together the Fed, a national bank. A year later, we had the income tax. Well, you need money, after all, to fuel the Fed. And it was kind of interesting, too, because a few weeks ago when they asked Chairman Powell of the Fed, how does the Fed fund itself? It says the American taxpayer pays nothing. It is self-funded by its investments. Well, if the Fed is an integral part of the World Bank and they give money to other world bankers, then don't you think that they can shape their investment choices? It's stealing. But that's where we're at. So the card here says that all that glitters, gold isn't what you think it's worth. It's a gold dust drama. It's fake. That's the meme for today. If you're not careful, you're going to end up living the illusions others have created for you, and that's exactly what we're doing. Meyer, God, I can't remember the name right now. Rothschild. Meyer Rothschild, 1803, head of the Rothschild banking empire in 1803, said, "You can do what you want with the government. Just give me control of the economy." That's what the Fed has done. It controls the economy, not just here in the United States, but across the world. And something tells me that it's the same 2 or 3 families who control all of the banks. And if you take a look at assassinations around the world, it's the people who play with the money, who want to change the money in the country, who become assassinated. Kind of an interesting connection. So that takes us to the gold is glittering type. It's just a fake. You've been sold a bill of goods. It's an illusion that you grew up with, so you don't even question. But now we're getting ready to. I guess Doge is going to be taking a look at the Fed. It may be because nobody could look at Fort Knox, which is where we have all our gold. Nobody been able to get into Fort Knox. I don't care if you're a congressman, a senator, nobody could get into Fort Knox since 1957. They're supposed to have hundreds of billions of dollars or bricks of gold. How do we know that? Why don't they let people in there? Doe says, we're going to go in there and we're going to do a check. We're going to see if it's what you say it is. If it isn't, if substantial amounts of the gold is missing, or all of it, you are going to see the American dollar drop to almost nothing. You're going to see a huge change, and they've been kind of calling for that there's a huge economic turn here. So if Doge can get in there and take a look at the books, take a look. I want to see the millions of pounds of gold. Nobody been able to take a look at it since 1957. Man, does that smell dirty. Again, all that glitters, which is why we're serious about the tarot reading. So let's get to it. First card all the way on the left is the death card. And from what I've just told you, if they can give an audit to the Fed and it comes up short, ooh, is the shit gonna hit the fan? Man, you think things are tough now. Wow. So the death card talks about transformation, transition. This is in Chinese astrology, the year of the snake. Numerology, it's number 9. This is a time for endings. What does a snake do when it's in a different cycle? Sheds its skin. That's what we're doing right now. We got to look. We got to find out. The Fed has pushed government away. It was designed by bankers for bankers worldwide. Let's see what's there. Got to take a peek behind the curtain. That's the death card. The card after that, in reverse, has to do with something that's equally important, and that's the Empress. It's fertility. Empress talks about fertility, abundance, but the card's in reverse. Let's apply that to the Fed. Do we have all these hundreds of millions of bricks of gold, or is this just an illusion, all the glitters that they've been stealing from us for decades? Nobody could check them. How do we know? It's painful, it's scary, but we got to look. So we see here between these two cards, we are hoping for something better, and we're not sure what we're going to find, but we know we got to change our tactic. We got to quit doing what we're doing the way we're doing it. Next card is the Four of Pentacles. Pentacles are our value system. Four of Pentacles is stability. Four is the square. We have to find a system, not just economically, but spiritually, socially. We have to find a lifestyle that is solid, that is dependent, that is real. We don't want the gold is glitter crap. Hasn't gotten us anywhere, hasn't made life better. When I was a kid, I was a young adult at that point, in the 70s, man, people ragged on communism. Look at how terrible the Russians live, and communism. And take a look at America today. Any difference between that and Russian 1970s? No. So capitalism doesn't work either. Interesting. So what do we got to do? The final card is the Six of Swords. You see them in a boat. They got the six swords standing up. These are the things they know are true. They peeked behind the curtain. They took a look at the Fed. They found out what's real and unreal, as unpleasant and frightening as that may be. But they decided they got to move on. And that's where you are. If you're feeling this energy, there is a part of your life that you have bought into the dream, the all that glitters crap. More cars aren't going to help. More homes aren't going to help. More this. If it's things, we have loads of things, and yet we're extremely unhappy. We're lost. We've lost our center. We need to go back to that Four of Pentacles. Get a good, strong, firm, real value system. You can do your part. That's the reading for today. Back again tomorrow with another Tao Manifested reading. Between now and the next time you and I do this together, hopefully tomorrow, peace and blessings.